The Jewish people are considered the most intelligent ethnic group in the world, with extraordinary business philosophies and money-making strategies. Despite their small population globally, they hold up to 1/3 of the world's wealth. According to statistics, up to 50% of America's upper class is of Jewish descent. So why can such a minority, having undergone countless hardships, lead in wealth and prosperity like this? Let's explore through the most intelligent business and money-making stories of the Jewish people to learn. Listen at least 100 times in your life, and these stories will become even more profound over time. The first story: souvenir tree business. A Jewish businessman went to Japan to invest in business. He opened a tourist resort on an island, but because it was a new tourist destination, very few people knew about it. For several years, the situation didn't improve much. He began to feel discouraged and wanted to give up. A friend of his suggested planting more trees to attract more tourists. So he came up with a unique advertising idea: planting souvenir trees to commemorate visitors' memorable moments on the island. Thanks to this novel idea, more people became aware of and visited his tourist resort. In less than 2 years, the island was covered with lush greenery. During this process, the Jewish businessman didn't spend a penny. He priced the cost of each sapling at 300 yen, and just by selling saplings to tourists, he earned 6 million yen in profit. The lesson here is that in life, there's no such thing as a dead end or failure. It all depends on each person's mindset. Our elders taught us, rivers have bends, people have times. When facing difficulties and deadlocks, change your perspective and think differently. Then, you will reap unexpected rewards. In life, we often limit our problem-solving methods because we set boundaries in our thinking. To rise above the crowd, you must have thoughts different from the masses. The second story. In the famous business stories of the Jewish people, one cannot overlook the following banana-selling tale. The story revolves around a young man named Yam Mo, a fruit salesman at a grocery store in a certain city. Due to his intelligence and quick wit, he was promoted to manager within a short period. Thanks to his brilliant sales innovations, the store achieved significant profits. However, life is not always smooth sailing. One day, due to the carelessness of an employee, the fruit warehouse caught fire. Although the fire was extinguished in time, only 15 crates of bananas were left in the warehouse. Moreover, due to the fire, the bananas became unsightly. Despite reducing the price to half of the original, no one wanted to buy them. The initial price was $10 per kilogram, and even at $5 per kilogram, none sold. Wanting to sell them as quickly as possible, Yam Mo came up with an idea. He noticed that the bananas still tasted normal, except for their unsightly appearance. So, he decided to cut the bananas into slices along with various other fruits and sell them in trays. While this method sold a few, it still fell short of the sales target. Worse still, the number of spoiled bananas kept increasing. In a moment of urgency, Yam Mo devised another bold plan. He decided to bake the bananas. When ripe, no one cares whether the peel is beautiful or ugly. With this approach, not only could he clear the pile of bananas, but he also significantly boosted winter sales. The lesson drawn from this story is that most of us often get stuck in a mindset that resists change, even when faced with complex and difficult problems. This narrow thinking limits us. The Jewish proverb says, "Our heads are round, so that our thoughts can change." When encountering seemingly unsolvable problems, the best solution is to change our mindset. Therefore, if you want to succeed, you must first be willing to innovate and break free from old ideas. Only then can you be free to create and step into new territories. Furthermore, when pursuing success, we often hear, "Seize the opportunity." But where is the opportunity? Does it announce its arrival, or does someone show us where it is? The answer is no. Opportunity rarely waits for you to be ready. If you want to make money, instead of passively waiting, it is better to actively transform passivity into activity, actively seek opportunities. The banana seller's story teaches us: be ready to innovate, break free from old ways of thinking, know how to turn passivity into activity and create suitable opportunities. And in the end, you will reap the rewards. The third story revolves around a Jewish merchant who owed a large sum of money to a wealthy and ruthless landlord. When the debt was due, the landlord came to the merchant's house to demand payment. He had an eye for the merchant's beautiful daughter, so he devised a plan as he walked on a path scattered with black and white pebbles. The landlord took 2 black pebbles and put them in a sealed bag before boldly knocking on the door of the Jewish merchant's house. At that moment, the merchant opened the door along with his daughter. The landlord instructed the daughter to pick a pebble from the bag. If it was a black pebble, her family would have to repay the debt, and she would have to marry him. However, if it was a white pebble, she wouldn't have to marry him and the debt would be forgiven. The daughter knew that the bag contained only 2 black pebbles. So, when she reached into the bag, she pretended to drop the pebble. Since the courtyard was already filled with pebbles, no one could tell which color pebble she had picked. Calmly, she told the landlord, "Take the remaining pebble out and see. If it's black, then the one I took was white. But if it's white, then the one I took was black." In the end, the landlord had to leave empty-handed. The lesson of reverse thinking is a solution when problems cannot be explained in the conventional way. The mathematician Carl Jacobi always thought in reverse whenever he encountered life's deadlocks. Similarly, we need to look at things differently if we want to find a solution. Learn to think differently and break the consistency of every problem to find the most optimal solution. The third story, the value of scrap. In 1946, a Jewish father and son arrived in New York City to start a business in metals. One day, the father held a bar of copper and asked his son, "How much is a pound of copper worth?" The son replied, 35 cents. The father pondered for a moment and then said, "Yes, a pound of copper is worth 35 cents. Everyone knows that. But turn this 35 cents into a doorknob." The son followed his father's advice and sold it for 10 times its original value. 20 years later, the father passed away and the son took over the family business. He began selling pounds of copper for 100, even 1,000 times their original value. He crafted Olympic medals and art pieces from copper. However, what truly made him wealthy was the scrapyard in New York. In 1974, the U.S. government renovated the Statue of Liberty and put out bids to clean up the garbage. But after several months, no one wanted to deal with the waste. Upon hearing this, the man ended his vacation in France and flew back to secure a contract to collect the scrap iron, copper, and screws. In the following days, he had workers sort through them. He used copper to cast small Statue of Liberty figures, cement and wood as bases. Other materials like screws, iron, and various metals were melted and molded into different models like keys, squares, etc. In less than 3 months, he turned that scrap heap into $3.5 million in cash. At this point, each pound of copper had increased in value by 10,000 times. The lesson learned is that nothing in life is worthless. What we call trash is only when they are not placed correctly, and when we don't know how to use them. Along the journey of life, there will be things that seem ordinary, but help us become wealthy. The important thing is whether you can turn them into money or not. Just like the Jewish man, while others thought it was just useless garbage, he saw them as treasure and succeeded. The fifth story. A retired Jewish teacher bought a house by the seaside where he liked to sit on a stone bench near his home to read books and enjoy the tranquility. One day, 3 children came to explore the stone bench and play loudly, disturbing his peace. He decided to negotiate with them. "You kids playing here make me very happy. If you play and make noise every day, I'll give each of you $5. The children were delighted and came to play loudly every day. 2 days later, he appeared sad and told them that his pension had been delayed, so he could only give each of them $1. Although unhappy, the children reluctantly agreed. Several days later, he looked sad again, saying that his pension had been cut, so he could only give each child $1 per day. The children, angered, said that $1 was not enough for them to play loudly to make him happy. From then on, they no longer bothered him, and he could enjoy the peace as before. The lesson learned is that sometimes rigid measures cannot solve the problem. Only by guiding and adjusting step by step according to the circumstances can we ultimately achieve the goal. The sixth story. 2 young men were looking for a job. One of them was Jewish. When they entered a company, they saw a coin on the ground. The other young man stepped over it like a gentleman, but the Jewish young man bent down to pick it up, much to the disdain of the other. During the interview, the other young man refused to work at the small company with low pay and a lot of work, so he left. But the Jewish young man was happy to stay and work. Several years later, when they met again, the Jewish young man had become a successful big boss, while the other young man was still job hunting. The other young man asked the Jewish young man how he could be so successful. The Jewish young man replied, "Because you left like a gentleman and ignored the small opportunities. When you don't pay attention to small coins, you will never get rich in your lifetime." In the mindset of an ordinary man, he only wants instant success, high status, high salary, and easy work all at once. On the contrary, the Jewish young man was diligent and meticulous, valuing every small coin and every opportunity he encountered. This is also the principle of success of the Jewish people. Never let opportunities slip away from your grasp. The seventh story. A man selling eggs came to greet a Jewish man with a basket of eggs. The Jewish man asked him, "If every morning you put 10 eggs in the basket, and every night you take out 9 eggs and put them in another basket, what will happen after a while?" The egg seller replied, "Then I will have a basket full of eggs." The Jewish man laughed and said to the egg seller, "That's right. I will teach you the rule of becoming rich. Never spend all the money you earn each day. Spend 9 parts and save 1 part. This means if you earn 10 coins, spend 9 coins and save 1 coin. And if you earn 100 coins, save 10 coins and spend the rest. Don't underestimate it. This is the principle that has made me wealthy." The lesson is that wealth cannot come overnight. It is the result of accumulated time and wise investment. The Jewish principle of 9-1 is the rule of saving 10% of income and spending within 90% of the money earned. With patient accumulation over time, besides escaping poverty, you can also save a considerable amount of money. This is also the principle of personal financial management that helps even those who don't have a lot of money to live a prosperous life. On the contrary, some people who don't know how to save end up struggling financially until they are 40, borrowing money everywhere. Never underestimate the money you earn, as it is a wise lesson for everyone. The eighth story. There's an interesting story about oil tycoon Rockefeller as follows. One day while walking from the mine to the train station, it started pouring rain, and he got completely soaked. Rockefeller took shelter in front of a small store. A wealthy-looking woman thought he was homeless and said, "Sir, please take this suitcase to the train station of the mine, and I'll give you $1. At that time, $1 was an acceptable price for the poor, and Rockefeller agreed. When he arrived at the train station, the staff greeted him. "Hello, Mr. Rockefeller." Only then did the woman apologize to him. Rockefeller humorously replied, "Even if you apologize, I won't give you back this $1 because it is the legal wage." When it comes to the Jewish people, they are often described as frugal or even miserly, which, to put it bluntly, means stingy. Even Warren Buffett, the richest man in the world, only flies economy class and eats simple meals. But their frugality is not about work, but rather personal needs. For Jewish people, they choose to live simply, harmoniously, and not overly focused on material possessions. This is a quality that is hard to find in modern society. The ninth story. There is a famous story about the rich-poor mindset of Jewish people that you cannot overlook, explaining why the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting richer. The answer lies in the short story below. A farmer had 100 chickens. One day a Jewish merchant came to the village and said he would buy chickens for $100 each. The farmer sold 80 hens from his family and got $8,000. A few days later, the merchant came back to buy a hen for $500. The farmer sold the remaining 20 chickens for $10,000. Sometime later, the merchant came again intending to buy chickens for $1,000 each. Since the farmer had run out of hens, he went to another farm owner to buy hens. This farm owner sold chickens for $100 each. Thinking about it, he bought all the hens available on the farm. Unfortunately for him, the Jewish merchant said due to unfavorable market conditions, he could only buy at $50 per hen. The farmer agreed to sell at a loss and waited for the next time. However, there was no next time, because the merchant and the farm owner were in the same group. Chickens are still chickens. They are still his chickens, but the price of $1,000 per chicken is impossible, because the Jewish merchant and the farm owner had already gone elsewhere to buy and sell chickens. The lesson ends here, and everyone surely recognizes the familiar pattern in today's market. Fattening up the prey and then slaughtering it. First, they use huge profits to attract you to keep pouring money in. And when all your assets are depleted, they suddenly lower prices to enjoy the difference and make huge profits. For investors, it's the same. To attract higher profits, the first thing to break through is the weakness in the opponent's thinking. Everyone wants to make money, but not everyone dares to try to change their money-making mindset. Besides, when the rich decisively spend money, the poor often hesitate and focus on small gains, ultimately falling into the trap of the market without knowing it. Usually, managing one's assets is quite difficult, especially when you're earning good profits. Therefore, you need to know how to take care of and evaluate your assets. Our grandparents often teach us, greed leads to disaster. If you have a certain benefit, you need to evaluate who wants to pour money into you, where it comes from, and what the purpose is. Even need to be vigilant when at the peak of glory. You need to remember that once you invest money, people lose their reason, especially those with little capital. With a fearful and greedy mindset, they are prone to fall into others' traps. The so-called rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer. That's what this principle is all about. Dear friends, although the Jewish people account for only a small percentage, they are the ones who manipulate the world market economy. Hopefully, these 9 stories with money-making and business mindset will help you apply successfully and masterfully in life. Best regards, and see you again in the next videos.